Let's take what we have learned about scientific notation and put it to use. So we're going to answer this question about density. An object with lesser density than water will float, and an object with a greater density than water will sink, which makes sense. Use each given density in kilograms per cubic meter to explain what happens when you place a brick and an apple in water. Compare the densities by writing each in standard form. Then tell whether the brick and the apple will sink or float. Finally, list the items, including water, in order from the least dense to the most dense. So let's start with the density of water. It is 1 times 10 to the third power kilograms per cubic meter. So that actually represents a bigger number, and since I have a positive exponent, which is 3, I'm going to move the decimal 3 places to the right. That's 1, 2, 3. I'm going to put zeros in the places where there are no numbers. So that means the density of water is 1,000 kilograms per cubic meter. The density of a brick, this one also is a number in scientific notation with a positive exponent. 1.84 times 10 to the third power, which means I'm moving my decimal 3 places to the right. I'm going to fill in a 0 here because there's not a number. So that means the density of a brick is 1,840 kilograms per cubic meter. Lastly, let's figure out the density of an apple. You'll notice right away that this one has an exponent of 2, which is less than the one with water and a brick. So that could tell you something, but let's look at it. So if I rewrite it in standard form, I'm going to move the decimal 2 places to the right. I don't have to add any zeros, which means the density of the apple is 641 kilograms. So now let's make sure we answer the questions that were asked. Okay, it says compare by writing each in standard form. We did that. Then tell whether the brick or the apple will sink or float. So let's start with brick. Since we're looking at brick, the density of the brick is greater than the density of the water. That means it'll sink. Now let's look at the apple. If you look at the density of the apple, it is less than the density of water. 641 is less than 1,000, which means the apple is actually going to float in the water. And then the last direction is that we need to list the items in order from the least dense. So I'm going to write least to the most dense. So the least would be the apple, followed by the water, and then the most dense was the brick. And that's it. So hopefully this helped you gain a better understanding about how to write numbers in scientific notation in standard form and how to compare them. Instead of just rewriting them in standard form, I also could have looked at the exponents, and I could have probably seen right away that the density of the apple was going to be smaller or less than the density of the brick and the water because of the exponent. So I just wanted to bring that to your attention as well.